this interview, which I think is going to be very informative. Even, for me, it's been like already the 10 minutes that I've been speaking to Laura, I've already learned so much that I didn't know before, which is awesome. So Laura is a registered nurse and a board certified patient advocate who is a member of the American Nurses Association. She also serves on the board of directors for 𝗵𝗟𝗠𝗏𝗄𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 nonprofit.org, which is the Breast Implant Safety Alliance. And there is some details below. And if it's not there, I will put this after the interview. Hi, Laura. How are you?
Hello, I am well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your learnings and teachings with us. I think it's a really important message. So I'm very excited about it. Just to start talking to us a little bit about your story and how you got to be doing the work that you're doing right now with 𝗵𝗟 nonprofit.
Oh, sure. So I had a personal experience with breast implant devices myself, which turned out to be unfortunate to my health. I've come to find out after about a decade or so after I got the implants, which was in 2008, I started developing some symptoms, and it was pretty much a drastic life change for me because I was very active, very type A. I had 2 nursing jobs, 3 kids. Wow. I just really, go-getter. I ran, I worked out. I had a personal trainer. I was very well. So I did get the implants. I got the Allergan Smooth Saline implants, and small. They were around 270 cc's, so a cup is about 240. So just wanted to rebalance things after having children. And so at any rate, I don't want to drag it out too long here, but
what were the symptoms? Because I know the symptoms can be quite tricky also to kind of relate to, the breast implants. What were you feeling?
It really is tricky, especially the nature of how they tend to, at least for me, kind of trickle in. Like I started, I was tired, and I thought, well, that's different. Maybe I didn't go for my runs, and then work became hard, and I had the 3 kids and games to go to for their sporting events and things. Just and actually I was tired at first, but it ended up being a profound fatigue, which is different from tired. Eventually, and I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. In many things, before I had implants, I probably had 3 or 4 little diagnoses, like I had a kidney stone and small things. And then after about 10 years, I had around 16 diagnoses. My chart was thick. I'm old school. We still had some paper charts, but but it just really, it didn't occur to me because of the onset. I thought, well, I have 2 jobs. I'm doing too much. But, there was a point where I was able to handle all of that. And I was in my 30s. I wasn't 80. So I went to a lot of different doctors. Then I started going to specialists. And because I was a EMA registered nurse, I became in year 2000. But I kind of knew some people. I knew some pathways. I knew how to stand up for myself and say, this is what I think I need. I really didn't know what I needed. It was very much mysterious overall. But at any rate, when I had certain body systems that would become symptomatic, then let's say I had stomach issues, and I knew I probably should see my GI if my primary doctor hasn't figured out what's going on. So many years of tests, lab work, MRIs, GI scopes, everything. Physical therapy, so much physical therapy for pain in my neck. I developed migraines, chronic migraines. I had so many treatments, nothing really worked. I opted then to try the Botox once, so I couldn't work then after a while.
So how long from like when you put the breast implants to when you started feeling the niggling, tired, how long was that?
Well, it wasn't real long after. I want to say, let's just say within the first year or two,
Yeah.
like when I look back, but I didn't recognize it then as,
yeah, especially
yeah,
the tiredness, right? Like one of my only symptoms before, my diagnosis with cancer, I was just tired. But again, like I was working with 2 kids, who's going to go to the doctor and say, hey, my name's Angelica, I work full time and I've got 2 kids and I'm tired. Nobody's going to do that, right? Because you just feel like, well, I'm busy. This is the life that I'm, until, like I said, the tired becomes so unbearable that you're like, okay, well, I need to do something about this. But it sounded like you also had some other things going on that were leading you to different doctors, right? It wasn't just the tiredness.
Oh, no, but that was so profound. And then it made me feel bad because I had probably had patients before that I didn't really relate to, or didn't probably understand their level of when they tried to communicate to that to me when I was well. But at any rate, yeah, it was fatigue and pain and dizziness and blurry vision. The migraines were horrible. They were horrible. So I couldn't work. I ran out of sick days. I was maybe off years, 7 or more. It took the nurse away from the bedside, and at the time I was working in a neurology clinic and then also in the hospital. So I had my share of trying to do good and help people,
Yeah.
And it was unfortunate. But I often told people that if I had $100 billion and a totally free schedule to travel the world, I wouldn't have been able to do that either. Like because some people would think, oh, malingering and I don't know, we can't see you look good, and doubt it. And I did not want to be that person that tried to convince people. I thought, I know what's going on. If you don't believe me, whoever it is, that is not on me. That is on you, because I don't like attention. So I wasn't, and I don't like to ask for help, and I'm very strong-willed. So this was a whole new world for me, and it was very depressing.
And I think it's so important that you say that, because I see this, I have worked with nurses and even doctors before myself, with the health coaching. I think that is they all come with that attitude, like, because you have that empathy and that desire to help others, you find really hard to ask for help. And I think it's really important that, you highlight that, because, it might be that somebody's listening to this and feeling all of those things and thinking, the most important thing is to ask for help. And I've also worked with people with chronic fatigue. Like I said, people don't understand until they have gone through it. Like people just go like, okay, what do you mean? Like you're tired? Everybody's tired, and it's like, now it's a little bit beyond tiredness. It's like, my body's not functioning properly, like I know deep down that there is something wrong. And I think it's kind of, like I said, I mean, that's on them if they don't want to understand that. But it's incredible how long we spend in that place of, like, trying to figure it out and not being able to figure it out. Like I said, it's been 7 years, for me, when I look back at my journey, I spent a lot of time, I'm just going to go to the supplement, health store and get like thousands of supplements, like just trying to patch things up with the quickest fix. And then you ask yourself, like, why am I not feeling better yet? But you're not getting to the core, which in your case was hard to know. But yeah, do you feel that, or?
Pardon me? Did
I feel that as well? Like that you're kind of trying to not, in your case, you're going to different places. It was hard to know what was going on, right?
Oh, absolutely. I really felt isolated, and I felt a little disappointed personally with conventional medicine in a way. And I don't feel that way now. I'm not saying that, but I contemplated that, like, because I was so used to, well, the patient needs an IV and these medications and some blood cells, and, like we could fix things, but we couldn't figure out what was even going on with me. And like you, supplements. Oh, I tried everything. I shouldn't say everything, because I'm I'm kind of careful, but I
Yeah.
tried many things. I had a
Yeah.
box of take
Yeah.
this for the headache, try this, or like
Yeah.
I was up to trying to find something to help. So yes, I felt like I was self-navigating it. But I
Yeah.
didn't know what it was. And I thought maybe
Yeah.
one specialist at some time will probably be able to find that missing link. But no, I ended up doing it
So
incidentally.
how did you do it? Like, how did you find out? Like, which again, it's a very powerful message here, isn't it? Because like I said, we grow up to think I'm going to go to the doctor and he's going to fix all my problems, or she's going to fix all my problems. But I really believe that, as we evolve, we need to take ownership of our health. And at some point, especially something like you went through, it's almost like you are the only one who knows like your body. And sometimes it's even hard to articulate what's going on. And yeah, sometimes then a specialist can find an answer like that, but a lot of times they can't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to discount,
No,
I want to be careful that I don't give the wrong impression, because
yeah,
we need our doctors, and our doctors need
definitely.
us. And they help a great deal, but I do kind of relate to what you're saying about the personal responsibility, kind of be the CEO of your own
Yes,
well-being. And I think one of the biggest keys is for an individual to follow their intuition,
yes,
but also be open to the fact that, um, research too, but you kind of got to be careful with that, because you have to realize that some things might be fitting, but it doesn't mean you have all of those things either,
yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah,
you want to be the CEO, but you also have to understand, if you don't have the medical background, that you need a little bit of assistance, but that
exactly.
intuitive, those questions that come up in your mind, maybe write those
They're
down
valid.
and try to
Exactly.
get those answered if you can.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's a kind of a 50-50 responsibility, isn't it? Like if it's a two-way relationship, it's like you taking some responsibility, and, when you don't know, or you need more information, asking the person who can direct you. But how did you come up to nailing the issue?
Sorry, I probably sidestepped that. I
No.
didn't mean to. I'm a researcher. I love to look things up. I mean, I love information, and
Yeah.
I'm very determined. So I wanted to find the missing link, because like I said, I felt so alone, and like, then I would question myself. Is
Okay.
I I don't know if I really said, am I crazy? Because I knew that I had something,
Yeah.
biologically going on in my body that significantly had changed. But yeah, you just kind of question different things. So I did research, and just stumbled upon it on the internet. They were calling it breast implant illness.
Oh, wow.
Um, and I did not know what that was. And I was reading, of course, these stories were anecdotal, and mine is anecdotal, if you will. However, there's more recognition, and people are becoming a little
Yes.
more educated about the reality of its existence. But at the time, no, not really. But I was reading other women's stories, and I thought I could have written that. And then I'd read another story, like, I could have written that. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And after a while, I thought, well, there's only one way for me to find out if
Yeah.
that's what it is. And that's to get the implants out. Knowing that,
Wow.
however, that may or may not
Be the
help, because
cause.
I
Wow.
didn't know. Yeah. And again, I want to say there's plenty of women, individuals who have the devices who do just fine. So I don't want to
Yes.
that. I just want to speak to probably my experience and what we hear as a nonprofit too.
Yes.
People message us all the time, like, what am I supposed to do? And we try to equip people with resources and knowledge and science-based evidence, FDA
Yeah.
links. We don't want to make stuff up.
Yeah.
Um,
And I really
So
like, I was mentioning to you, I was researching to do this interview yesterday, having a look at your website, and it's unbiased information, right? So it's not like you guys are going one to the other, not saying yes or no to anything, but it's just informing people, what could be or what couldn't be, right? Like, because in your case, it had been a journey of 7 years, and symptoms a little bit all over the place, not being able to pinpoint what it was. And like I said, the only way to find out was to take the breast implants out.
Yeah, that's what I concluded, that was the only way. And yes, we do at 𝗕𝗓𝗏 nonprofit, we do want things to be unbiased. That's why I do balance it out with, there are plenty of women who don't have any issues, because that is the reality. But the reality also is that there's a subset of women who really have some issues and problems. And now we see some that are actually developing cancers from the devices. So it's not a figment of anyone's imagination that these can be potentially problematic, but they're not problematic for everybody. We're not up there trying to say, oh, get them all off the market, if there was, like, if you think about the cigarettes, of course they found they can cause lung cancer, and well, aren't those off the market? That's a whole other bag of worms I'm not going to get into. Basically, what my point is, if you just arm people with the evidence, like, hey, if you smoke, you can get lung cancer, but you might not. But if you pick this procedure, this activity, these things may happen or they may not. But that way people can make an informed decision.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like, this is something that it's becoming more, people are becoming more aware of it, right? I am 43 years old. I was mentioning to you, like, when I was in my 20s in Brazil has a very big industry around cosmetic surgery. I had plenty of friends that in their 20s, they were putting breast implants on just for cosmetic purposes. And back then, nobody even thought about anything. It was just like, I just want, to have, this kind of breast, and I'm just doing it, and that's at the end of it. But I think it's getting a little bit more, there's more information out there of like you're mentioning, that what's actually happening. I think that takes time as well, right? Like that perhaps, there's more people, more evidence, more things that we can actually look through, like you're saying, the matter of research. And I think it was really interesting when you're talking about the FDA. If you could just tell us a little bit about the link that, with the cancers, like, because it's something that I did not know. And I think that would be really beneficial for people to know.
Yeah, so we do on our, well, you can go right to the FDA website, or we do have on our 𝗕𝗓𝗏 nonprofit page, we have links to the FDA, different sources. And we also do have the latest update that they had given us when we had the meeting on the 8th of this month. And then we also released a statement about it. So people can go right there and they can read the information about it. If they have questions, it's always good to, if they have the devices and that, to talk to their doctors, because what it would boil down to is that, it's an individual kind of situation. A lot of people have different variables and factors as to why they have the implants, what kind, how they're placed. So, but yeah, we have some links on our website there. The FDA also had, I thought, done a pretty good job of a comprehensive page. It was the risks and complications. They spell things out too, in pretty decent lay terms, I think, for people if they want to look at that. There's a lot of information. There's other sources as well and sites. Like the American Society of Plastic Surgeons have some things too. There's just a lot.
So did you say that? So the FDA has linked some of the implants with particular cancers, or what was the?
Oh, okay. I maybe missed your question there.
So
they were making, announcements like safety updates about the cancers that can be related to the devices. And originally it was mostly the BIA-ALCL lymphoma of the immune system cancer, but more of late it's been, the last update was related to the squamous cell carcinoma. So they have found the link there, and that one, the capsules around the implant devices, that is kind of where that squamous cell carcinoma develops in that capsule tissue. And it's difficult to
diagnose
yeah, and there's not like a screening. Oftentimes, or I guess I shouldn't say oftentimes, because it's not common, but the concern is if the patient presents when they're symptomatic, because generally speaking, it can be fairly well advanced, if you will, and we can't see it like we can see squamous cell changes on our skin, maybe like if we have a mole that changes, for example, but we can't really see kind of inside that epithelial layer where the squamous cell carcinoma maybe is occurring. And oftentimes too, another concern is that it can occur on that posterior wall. So the back of the implant that's closest to the chest, where it's particularly difficult to visualize with any imaging at this time anyway. Hopefully there will be advances. I of course wish for some serological testing where you can go get in a dream world, you can go get your lab blood drawn and they can look for some maybe markers or something. But we have a lot of work to do as far as figuring things out to help.
So in regards to, for example, if I was somebody who wanted to put a breast implant on, like how does the FDA control the quality of it, or like the factories that are producing those devices? How, as it stands right now, how does the industry work?
So the FDA has done in like 2021, I think they kind of did restrict some of the sales to providers that would have like checklists that they would do between the patient and the doctor for one thing. And then they also included labeling updates and like a boxed warning. And, they had done some adjustments to try medical device card too.
Yes.
Back in my day, I don't know what was going on as far as tracing the devices. There really was no tracking, I should say.
Yes.
So, they're doing that. It's unfortunate because a while back they did stop some of the post-market safety studies.
Yes.
And, as a team at 𝗕𝗢𝗧, we talk about that, like, boy, wouldn't it have been beneficial if that would have remained, because then we'd have more data. And a lot of women are
really
saying,
until they do, like you're saying, the post-surgery kind of research, it's hard for them to know like the quality and the safety of the actual device as well, because they don't know how it's going to impact, the person's body or.
Yeah, well, so part of like getting the devices approved, the FDA says, well, we want some safety information then, to make sure. And so the manufacturers, had a hard time really. I don't think we have the safety data yet, actually.
Yes.
I mean, now look what we're seeing, but, my emphasis is more on the patient advocacy side. So as far as that, I have the general picture of it, but so
let's say there is still a lot of work to do.
There's
a lot of work to do in how safety those devices are being produced. I mean, I was just talking to you before, and I mean, I don't think I've mentioned this, but when I used to live in New Zealand, I met a lot of people that used to go to Asia to have their implants done because it was cheaper. So and of course they are not regulated by any kind of associations that are related to New Zealand itself. So it's kind of a no man's land in a way. But like that kind of thing, that I think it happens as well because of the cost, or and I think it's just really thinking like where those devices are coming from, right? Like in regards if you are a patient.
Yeah, you really want to do your research. Yeah, no matter what. But yeah,
Yeah.
we've had people reach out. Like I went to Mexico to get a surgery, and we don't know I don't know where those implants were made or not. But there's MedWatch reporting that a layperson can do. You don't have to have a physician, on the FDA's website too, for people who have some complications. And if you're not in the USA, I understand it too, but if you have devices that were manufactured in the US and you have symptoms, you can still report, so that helps with the data.
Yeah.
But yes, I have heard of similar stories, Angelica, about going kind of where it's more affordable or something, but then you don't always know what can happen after that. And something that maybe costed you, I don't know, $3,000 could end up costing, who knows, if you have complications when you're back home. So it's really
so how people can, like, again, if I was a person who wanted to do that today, like what's the best way to go about it? Like how, can I research before I make that decision, especially on, how to go about it or how to do it?
How to do it. Yeah. So while I would say, I hate to just say Google, but Google can be your friend, but you do need your doctors first. Okay. So, but when you're at home, you can start looking at credible websites like, there is the Aesthetic Society and Plastic Surgery Foundation, American Society of Plastic. There's a lot of different official websites that have information about it, but you also want some on the other side too. You want to be open to just potential things, like you're having a surgery too. Let's say you're preparing for surgery. You want to know just about your general surgical risks and potentials with anesthesia and infection and general things. And then the devices. So you want to find out about what device you're interested in. Let's say you wanted to have some gel-filled or some silicone-filled devices. So you could kind of do some research about that, but also check out like the Safety Alliance that we have and some of the other places too. I think I had a little list, but I don't know where I put them all. But you do want to make sure that.
And it's all linked to your website. Like they can have a look at your website and kind of research from there.
Yeah, there's a good resource. We're always adding to our website. We recently kind of restructured it a little bit too. Not that we have all of the answers, but we sure try to have a lot of a well-rounded picture and, credible information. We like to put some scientific fact on there too. We don't want to make anything up and steer anybody in the wrong direction.
So after you took your implants out, how quickly did you get better?
Well, very quickly. But I will say that I don't think I'm 100% better, but I'm a little older too now. But I had a lot of improvements, and I actually was I'm kind of a skeptic, right? So people would say, well, right away, the next day I had this was gone and that was gone. And I thought, well, we'll just see about that. Well, my GI system like auto-corrected. I felt I haven't really had the problems. I'm trying to think there's a couple other things that
energy levels, which was like the tiredness.
Yeah, well, that improved. Yeah, of course, not day one, because then there's healing and recovery and cellular recovery and, hydration and diet and all those things and sleep are very crucial for healing. Yeah. But I did have a lot of symptoms that resolved, and I'm back to working full time. I'm advocating. I'm volunteering for my state for long-term care patient rights. I'm working and volunteering, and I want to just I feel like I'm making up for some lost time too,
Yes.
but I want to do the right thing. I want to help people with
Yes.
wherever they're at, whatever they need help with it, whether it's
Yeah.
through the VA or whatever. And I
Yeah,
don't
it's
ask
amazing.
people for money. I'm not,
Yeah, so let's just talk about the work that you're doing at the Business Nonprofit, which I
yeah,
think is so important. Like how, how can you help people with the nonprofit, and also how can they help you? Like, tell us a little bit more about it.
sure. So we like to provide education and awareness.
Yeah.
We are trying to also continuously collaborate with professional entities to, so a lot of networking, a lot of support from kind of like, if you will, sister communities, like, you know, there's aesthetic flat closures and there's different surgical options. You know, we want to empower women to accept their selves and support them if they had some kind of breast surgery and they have deficits, whether they had implants or not, you know, but if they come to us, you know, we just
Yeah.
really want to kind of help that way. And as far as people, if they want to help, we do accept donations. If people have a particular talent and they'd like to help out with something, we accept that too. People can spread awareness by maybe sharing posts and things like that through social media. So we do have a link on our website that if you want to, you know, help out, you
Yeah.
can kind of follow the links and become active.
Yeah.
And we post like health fairs, you know, if we can. We like to attend some of the medical conferences and the FDA meetings when we can, and just really like to stay abreast to things so we can, you know, we can help. And another thing that we like to, or particularly I do, is trying to reestablish the trusting relationship between like the patients and the physicians,
Yeah.
because it seems like there's kind of a divide with that. And like I said, you know, we need our doctors and they need us. We need our doctors. We can't do our own explants, you know, so we need to work together to figure some things out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
I agree. I agree. I went through chemotherapy myself, and I changed my diet and my physical and emotional habits. But I would be a completely hypocrite to think that I would be here without my doctors and my nurses who looked after me during the 7.5 months that I was in chemo, and the amazing doctor who did the surgery for me. And although I really believe in the natural and the holistic, I also, like to always highlight that, it is kind of that two-way relationship, a 50-50, like we need to take responsibility, but I couldn't have done the surgery myself. Like I said, I needed somebody to do that. And, they've been, looking after me for the last 5 years. So I think it's so important that, I think there is this divide these days, right? Like as soon as it doesn't work for, one thing, then it's like, they don't want to know about it. But I think it's really important to what you said is so important, to create that trust again, because we really need them.
yeah, we do. We need our scientists, we need our researchers, we need our doctors, and they need us too. It's kind of a reciprocating relationship, but that's always important to establish trust with that, patient and physician right away, to help create best outcomes and patient satisfaction and things, whether we're talking about blood pressure control or diabetes or whatever. So I feel like it also does apply here. And a lot of times women will express some of their frustration. But some of the doctors are learning too. The doctors also rely on devices to be safe, like they're said to be, so it's just, we really, really need to work together.
Yes, definitely. So a woman who has gone through any sort of breast surgery, it doesn't have to be necessarily like the implants, but they're not happy with, they can contact with a nonprofit and just kind of have a chat or go through your website to see if they can get any help? Or is that what you mean? Like, kind of, is that why you guys there? Yeah.
Well, we were primarily there for the, the breast implant safety aspect of it, but I wanted just to be all encompassing. I don't want to just, that is definitely our emphasis. But if someone comes and wants some support, we're not going to say no. But I think I was mentioning the other alternatives to like the implant. So we have some information on our website about what other alternatives could be also. And the implants, whether a person had cancer or not, I tell people, don't get stuck there because, that's like an opportunity for maybe judging, and that is really not going to be very productive for this person's life. But yeah, so basically, primarily, yes, it is breast implant safety, and we want, more safeguards and more awareness so women know, and when they're thinking about getting the devices, that they really open their mind up to things that maybe can happen, and that they could need a reoperation, that they could possibly get a capsular contracture, and they have 2 devices. So you could get one or you could get 2. You could get an infection or seroma, which is swelling of the breast or both breasts. Usually it's one side if it even happens. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but there's a lot of unknowns that I think now we know a little more, that we can help women know of the potential things that could go wrong, or they may never. But the more you know.
Yeah. And of course, if they are in a position where things are going wrong, they can reach out to cross-check with you guys, like, is this, really it, like you're saying, like, so they can feel a little bit more supported, because it's a scary time, right? When you already become a symptomatic like person, and you've just gone through the surgery and you kind of feel lost and feel alone. I think it's really important to have somewhere to go, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I will say though, if if a person's having complications or questions about their situation, definitely the doctor is going to be the expert, and the doctor is going to be the one that's going to be able to assess and evaluate the person one-on-one. But yes, we are there for support. Hopefully we can guide people in the right direction as far as resources if they want some information on a particular topic as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'll ask everybody that is watching this now and on replay to share this interview, so we can share the 𝗵𝗔 Nonprofit website and work for as many people as we can. I think, we have a long way to go to sharing more information around breast implants, survivorship and awareness and all of that. And I think, I really thank you, Laura, to have come on to this podcast and to share with us, because it's so important, the work that you're doing.
Yeah, it's vital in ways, as with the other conditions as well. But it is very, very important. And I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you.
It was very nice to speak with you and be able to talk with other people, and maybe if they take away one thing, do your homework, or something.
Exactly. And of course, if you guys want to contribute to, it's a nonprofit, there is the website link as well there, which again, it's like I said, is a vital work there. So thank you so much, Laura, for being here.
Thank you for having me, Angelica.